Greetings to you all. My name is Benjamin Ferenz, and I'm speaking to you from Delray Beach, Florida, in July 2018. I want to thank the sponsors, the Parliamentarians for Global Action, for inviting me to make some brief remarks. And I want to thank particularly my friend David Catlin, who I've known for many years as a fellow worker in the field of trying to create a more peaceful and humane world. I know I only have a few minutes, and so let me give you a little bit of perspective. I am now in my 99th year. I have spent practically my whole life trying to create a more humane world. The impetus came largely from my experience as a combat soldier in World War II. One of the assignments given to me as the war was coming to an end was to go into the concentration camps as they were being liberated and to collect evidence of the crimes so that the perpetrators might be held to account in a court of law. I had already graduated from the Harvard Law School. I had come to the United States as a poor immigrant boy. My parents were fleeing persecution and poverty in Central Europe. They couldn't speak English. They had no job. They had no friends. I was lucky, and they were lucky, to be given a job as a janitor in Hell's Kitchen in New York. And that's where my memory begins. When the war broke out, I managed with some difficulty to become a combat soldier. And the experiences of viewing the concentration camps as they were liberated has certainly had a traumatic effect on me for the remainder of my life. I don't want to repeat the horrors here, they're well known. If there's any doubts, a visit to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, which has received all of my archives, will end such doubts. What is interesting is that a group like the Parliamentarians has also been working on this for a long time. And I recall the day in Rome when I was invited at the beginning of the conference there. All the nations who had been working on the court came together, and I was invited to make a statement. And what I said was that I have come to Rome to speak for those who cannot speak, the victims of atrocious crimes. And I went on then to describe what I hoped would come out of Rome, that we would create a rule of law to pick up on where I had left off during the war, and that was the Nuremberg trials were on, as the International Military Tribunal for Nuremberg had been trying Goering and company. And then there were 12 subsequent trials after that. And I was the chief prosecutor in one of those subsequent proceedings, as we'll call them, in which I accused 22 high-ranking and well-educated leaders of the SS of murdering in cold blood over 1 million people. And I proved it by their own documentation, which we captured, the top secret records. My problem was, what do you ask for punishment or sentencing? And I concluded that I would not ask for the death penalty, that I would ask the court to affirm the right of all human beings to live in peace and human dignity, regardless of their race or creed, because the victims had been murdered because they didn't share the race or the creed of their executioners. That's what the judgment meant in the end. And it should be strange that 20 years later, after making the speech at Rome in which I said never give up hope, never stop trying to make it a more humane world, I said to them specifically, the time is now and the place is here. And I look back now, 20 years later, and not only is the court going, but when they got to their first case, against Lubanga, the International Criminal Court, which now exists in The Hague, invited me to make the closing remarks for the prosecution, which I did. I was then 92 years old. When I prosecuted my first case in Nuremberg against mass murderers, I was 27 years old. And I feel sort of like a grandpa visiting. But I'm telling the young people, the future depends on you, not upon politicians and not upon diplomats. It depends upon the young people who are prepared to say, hell no, we won't go. And you're in more danger than I ever was. We now have the capacity from cyberspace to cut off the electrical grid on planet Earth. That means they can kill all of you quietly with no muss, no fuss. And the current system, whereby if the heads of state are unable to agree, we send our young people like you out to kill other young people whom they don't even know. And when they get tired of killing each other, they rest for a while, declare victory, and then they start again. That is the current system. And in addition to that, we spend all the money which we should be spending on re-education and teaching tolerance and compassion, on building more weapons to kill more people. That's insane. That's crazy. And you are the potential victims. I'm not talking about me. I'm 99 years old. But you've got to see the world has to change. Law has to change to keep pace with the needs of the world in which you live. And that little assignment I now turn over to parliamentarians and like-minded groups in the hope that you will have a peaceful world. The code, my slogan is law, not war, and never give up, never give up, never give up. Good luck.